Breaking news. Welcome to Lafree's Concept TV. Here is the headlines. How I was offered 800,000 to blackmail Dangote Refinery. How I was offered 800,000 naira to blackmail Dangote Refinery. To my dear listeners, from wherever you're listening from, ensure you like, subscribe, and share. Now the details. A Nigerian investigative journalist, David Hundeyin, has disclosed how an international non-governmental organization, INGO, offered him 800,000 naira to blackmail the 650,000 barrels per day Dangote Refinery. Hundeyin, in a series of tweets on Saturday, explained that his decision to make it public was to send a message to the external interest working on the same path as those within the country who are determined to counteract the interest of 500 million West Africans. According to him, the INGO, which he described as Dialogue Earth, wanted to contract him into blackmail the refinery as dangerous to the environment. He said, "Last week I received an 800,000 naira offer from an international NGO called Dialogue Earth, formerly known as Channel Dialogue Trust, to write an article essentially saying that Dangote Refinery is terrible for the environment because something environmental concerns, something climate change, something energy transition policy, something COP28. The unstated but clearly implied thrust of the brief was for a prominent local voice to put their names on an article that is an argument or a premise for the Nigerian government to kill the refinery based on its energy transition commitment and environmental policy. This conclusion wasn't immediately apparent when they reached out to me, but I suspected where it was heading. And I quickly accepted the offer so that I could see the brief and obtain hard evidence. I have attached screenshots from the brief below. Continuing, Hundeyin explained the organization is headed by an Oxford professor with funding from several American intelligence fronts, including NGO, which has been blacklisted in India for funding organizations against the nation's interest. Basically, this London-based NGO is headed by Sam Gill, an Oxford professor, and is funded by several American intelligence fronts such as Ford Foundation and Climate Works, which is blacklisted in India for funding organizations working against India's national interest. For whatever reason, it is now quietly mobilizing a resistance campaign against what it describes as Nigeria's first refinery. Apparently, the status quo of Africa's largest oil producer having no functioning oil refinery to beneficiate its own oil was not a problem for Dialogue Earth and the American CIA front who fund it. The human poverty caused by exporting this raw material and importing refined fuel was not bad for the government. Also, the fact of European refiners regularly blending West African fuel goes with toxic waste and sulfur content 200 times the European legal limit, leading to asthma, bronchitis, and eye infections in West Africa, was also not bad for the environment. But Nigerian having a refinery that will, when West Africa not import dependency on those European refiners and allow West Africa control the sulfur content of its own fuels, is where Dialogue Earth and its founders draw the line that one is bad for the environment, and David then should write an article calling for the refinery to be shut down or limited, he added. According to him, some Western interests believe Africans should not exist or have nice things, adding that apparently the sole purpose of our existence is to enhance their experience of the planet and all that it has to offer. He added that disclosing his encounter with the London-based organization was to pass a message that Africans cannot be convinced to campaign for the elongation of their own poverty by commissioning $500 act jobs in the hope that we will be greedy enough to only see the money and ignore the bigger picture of what we can clearly see you are trying to do. To my dear listeners, now we've come to the end of our today's news.